Today I've got a silly little video for you in which I, a romance book critic, am going to rank all of the biggest romance book tropes. Because why not? Hi, I'm Georgia. I talk about books on the internet, but mostly I talk about sapphic and queer fiction, and that means I read a lot of sapphic romance. It also means I read a lot of straight romance as well, because I've got to compare. I know I'm not easily pleased. I am a self-confessed romance book critic, but when I find something I love, I really, really love it. And the problem with a lot of romance books is they work for a reason, right? People read romance books because they know the formula. You know how it's going to end. You know that 99.9% of the time, the couple are going to end up together and happy. And that's what people want. People want comfort. But how they get to that point? I have things to say. So yeah, let's judge some tropes. Let's see what I really love in a romance book. It's really funny because a lot of the time I find that something that really pisses me off in a straight romance book, I will love in a sapphic romance book. And I don't know if that's because men just piss me off and in my eyes women can do no wrong. Probably that. But this is going to be interesting. Right, so here we go. Here are the tiers from best to worst. We have happily ever after. These are the tropes I absolutely love, that if a book features them, I will probably read it just because it is this trope. Then we have going steady. I like it. I don't have any major problems with it. Like, I will probably enjoy it. Situationship, take or leave. It's fine. Not gonna not pick up a book because it's about this, but also probably won't love it. We need to talk. We're getting into dangerous territory. Like, I probably am not gonna like this. And then we have blocked and deleted. I hate this trope. If I know a book has this trope, I will probably not pick up because it drives me insane. And with that, let's start ranking. We're going to start with the classic. We have enemies to lovers. And you know what? This is a trope where I think if it's done well, it can be really, really good. There is nothing spicier, nothing hotter than seeing two people who hate each other slowly realise they're in love with each other. My favourite is when they're like enemies, but there's like this raw sexual chemistry between two characters. Like, I will eat that shit up. But if it's done wrong, it can be so bad. Like, you need to feel the tension between these two characters to really understand why they end up together. Whereas if they're just enemies and then one day they wake up and they're like, oh, actually you're alright, I don't care for that. So this is going to be a hard one. I'm sort of torn between putting it in going steady and situationship. If it's done well, it can be so good, but if it's done badly, it's so bad. Ooh, we're putting it in situationship, but like, it's high. Friends to lovers is a perfect example of something that I would generally hate in a straight romance book, but I will like it in a sapphic romance book. Hear me out. I think a lot of the time, friends to lovers in straight romance comes from like this angle of like, men and women can't be friends because there's always going to be this tension. Like, the man always wants the woman. And this is something I've seen in my own life so many times. Like, I've got really close friendships with men, and then as soon as they realise that I am actually a lesbian and I'm not interested in them, they suddenly decide to stop being my friend, even though they've always insisted there was never anything there. And so the idea of like male and female friends to lovers, it just sits badly with me because I'm like, he was just waiting for her. The entire friendship was based on the fact that he was in love with her or he fancied her and just wanted her to like him back. Whereas in sapphic romance, like, lesbians falling for their friends and then going through a breakup and being friends again is so normal. So we're going to put friends to lovers again in situationship. It's not my favourite sapphic romance book trope. Like, it's not something I'm going to reach for every time, but I do prefer it. Forced proximity, two people who generally don't like each other forced to be in really close quarters, and then eventually sparks fly. I really enjoy this. Again, it's got to be done well, but I suppose all of these are going to be done well for them to actually be any good. But I do really enjoy the forced proximity as a trope. Within reason, I'm a very claustrophobic person. Like, if we're talking forced proximity as in like two people trapped in a lift together, I'm just point blank not going to read that. But like, forced proximity is in like they're forced to work together, or they're forced to like, it's in a lot of YA books. Like, a lot of YA romance is like two people forced to like work on a project together. I just think it's so cute, and they like slowly open up and learn to like each other. It can go in going steady. Actually, whilst we're on that, I'm going to go to Only One Bed, which sort of comes under the forced proximity umbrella. But I've put only one bed in here specifically because I really, really like the only one bed trope. It is such a cliche, like it is such a romance book stereotype, but I fall for it every time. I love it. When they're like lying in bed together and they can like feel the tension, but like neither of them wants to do anything because maybe they hate each other, or maybe they're like too shy, and then eventually one of them rolls over and like touches or like accidentally brushes against the other one. Oh my god, I can feel it. I can feel the tension on my skin. I love it. Is that going to go in happily ever after? Surely not. Surely not. Maybe. I'm going to do it. It's going in happily ever after. I really enjoy it. I have a fundamental issue with love triangles as a trope, as a concept, because a lot of the time I think love triangles could easily be solved by just becoming a throuple. Or like polyamory. You know, the answer is right there. It's right there. And they never do it. Like, they've always got to choose one. Why only choose one? Why not have your cake and eat it too? Like, polyamory's a thing. And it's never explored, you know? And it just pisses me off a bit. So, love triangle is going to go into we need to talk. I can't think of a single example of like a love triangle in a book where I've actually enjoyed it. I don't hate it. I just think there's so many wasted opportunities, you know? I was watching The Queer Ultimatum season 2. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. This could be considered a slight spoiler, but maybe not. And there's like a whole situation where somebody is in love with two people at once, and she's like, it's not right. I can't be in love with two people at once. Like, girl, yes you can, because you are. It's a thing. It can happen. Why not explore it? And there's like another couple who both are interested in the same person, and I'm like, throuple, explore the throuple, see if that would work for you. I'm gonna have so many people in the comments being like, polyamory is not for everyone. I know, I'm being silly, I'm joking, but also like, it's there to explore, and nobody ever does. Opposites attract is something which, again, if it's done right, it can be okay, but it's so rarely done right. A lot of the time it's like there's this dark, brooding, grumpy man who meets this sunshine, happy, golden retriever woman, and they work because they're so opposite, and she brings out the happiness in him, but really they've got nothing in common. Like, opposites attract, but like, you've got to have like a middle ground, you know? Situationship. Done right, it can be good. It rarely is. The one night stand which slowly turns into something more. I really like this one. I'm thinking of one specific book. It is by Claire Lydon, and I can't remember what it's called. Wait, I'm going to put it in Going Steady because I really like this, but I'm going to find out what this book's called, because it was basically two people, they meet, have a one night stand, and then go their separate ways, and then they like run into each other months later, and the sparks are flying. They can both remember like the chemistry they had on this one night, and they didn't think they'd ever see each other again, but now they're here. It was so good. It Started with a Kiss by Claire Lydon. If you want a good one night stand, that is the one. Like, it's a relationship that starts on like pure sexual chemistry, and then they slowly come to realise there's more there, as opposed to like the other way around, where you like have a connection with somebody and then the chemistry comes, or like then the sexual chemistry comes. It's flipped. I like it. Marriage Pact, two people who are like, if we're not married by the time we're 30, let's get married to each other. I hate it. I hate it. Like, why is marriage like the end goal? Why are you a failure if you're not married by the time you're like 30 or 40? Like, why do you place so much weight on that? I know, like, society, I get it. But I hate it as a trope. I really hate it. I recently read The Fiancé. I said that's so weird. Fiancé Fast by Alexandria Bellfleur. And it's not so much a marriage pact, but like it also kind of is. Because if they get married, one of them, Gemma, gets her like family's multi-million, billion-pound company, and they can like, they decide to share the money. And I hate it. I really didn't like that book. It was fine, I just didn't like that aspect of it. I think marriage pacts are so diminishing to like marriage and what it means, but also like places so much pressure on the idea of marriage, like it's the only thing that matters, and it's not. I don't like it. It can go and we need to talk. Unrequited love, somebody who's in love with somebody else who does not return their feelings, and then obviously at some point in the book they do begin to return the feelings, but there's complications there. I do like this. I do. Like, a lot of the time, by the time the other person has realised their feelings, there's some big reason why they can't be together, like it's too late, and it's all dramatic situationship. Forbidden love, I feel like as a sapphic book reader, a queer book reader, forbidden love is something that I come across again and again and again in my books, and I do really like it if it's done well. And a lot of the time it is done well. A lot of the time it's a queer person can't come out, or they can't be with the person they want to be with because society tells them they can't, or their family tells them they can't. My favourite example of this is Last Night at the Telegraph Club, or I suppose even Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth, which are two of my favourite books ever. That Green-Eyed Girl by Julia O'Moylan, also forbidden love. I really like it as a trope, and I feel like it sort of just comes with the territory of reading a lot of queer books, because obviously for many years it was forbidden. I read a lot of like historical fiction, historical queer fiction as well. And maybe it's like a sad trope in that it's like depressing that a lot of queer books are just about like, we can't be together because society won't let us. But I eat that shit up. I really do. Happily Ever After, even though it is rarely happily ever after. Forbidden love books are the ones where most of the time, or a lot of the time, they're not going to end up happily ever after, which is ironic because it isn't happily ever after. If you can't read this tiny, tiny text on here, this says miscommunication, and anybody who knows me, who has been on this channel for more than 2 seconds, will know that miscommunication is my number one hatred in books. I hate it. It is going in blocked and deleted. Now I know like a lot of romance books do have some form of miscommunication because there's got to be some sort of like plot device to keep the story going. Like, I understand that. Like, if there was no miscommunication, a lot of the time these romance books wouldn't exist. But books that are entirely about miscommunication, like two people who can't just like sit down and have a conversation and hash everything out, and then they still end up together. No, maybe it is the gay in me, maybe it is the lesbian in me, like me and my wife. And generally a lot of lesbians will sit down and talk about everything until the cows come home, until there is nothing else left to talk about. I just can't fathom the idea of like miscommunication, because in my head I'm like, just talk to each other. Like, this entire thing can be solved if you just like spoke to each other. My least favourite book with miscommunication trope is Normal People by Sally Rooney. That book angered me to like my core. And every time I say this, I have people being like, nah, 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 nah. Like, this was actually what the book... I don't care. I hated it because Marianne and Connell, all they needed to do to fix their problems was just sit down and have a grown-up conversation. And at no point do they do that. It drove me insane. I hate miscommunication. Just talk to each other. This next trope I have called the Cyrano, as in Cyrano de Bergerac, in which a less conventionally attractive person or a less popular person is in love with a very attractive person or very popular person and is too scared to like communicate with them themselves. And so what they do is they help somebody else, like a more popular character, communicate and fall in love. Like, they help somebody else get a relationship with this popular person just so like they have some sort of connection. And I think the only place where this trope has ever really worked is in the original Cyrano de Bergerac. And I like it as a trope. I rarely see it done in books, actually, saying this. It's probably much more common in like rom-coms. I do, like, a lot of the time it ends up with the popular person turning around and being like, I see you for your soul. I don't care that you're ugly. I want to be with you because I love you for who you are. But it's like, but you are also still calling this person ugly. Situationship. Sworn off love. Somebody has had their heart broken, has sworn that they're never going to fall in love again, and then their perfect person comes along and they just can't help themselves. I just think a lot of the time in cases like this, there needs to be a lot more healing. I feel like if you've just come out of a relationship, a terrible relationship, and you've been like, I need to focus on myself, then girl, you need to focus on yourself, you know? A lot of the time it just feels like you're using this person to like patch up your problems. But like, just go to therapy for a bit. Go on like an eat, pray, love. Go find yourself. And then come back and find a relationship, because it's not going to end well. We need to talk. I generally don't like workplace romances because I am reading to switch off, and I don't want to read a book about some sort of stuffy corporate office in which you as a receptionist are falling in love with your slightly mean boss, you know? Like, workplace romances just don't really do it for me. It's a very personal thing, but I'm reading for pleasure, you know? I'm reading for fun. I don't want to be reminded of when I worked in like a corporate, stuffy, boring ass office. I'll never generally reach for a workplace romance. We need to talk. Insta love. No. Blocked and deleted. I'm sorry. I'm a realist. I'm a skeptic. The whole idea of like insta love, of like seeing somebody and immediately like falling in love at first sight, is not for me. Any book that is about that, I'm going to be reading through a cynic's eye. I'm going to be like, what the fuck is this? Work on yourself. And I'm saying this as a lesbian. Lesbians famously fall in love with each other very, very quickly. Lesbians famously move in with each other very, very quickly. Did me and my wife do that? Yes, we did. Was it love at first sight? No. I just struggle to take a book seriously if characters like immediately in love, because there's always going to be problems. That's not how life works. Two people who don't realise they're in love, like maybe two friends, again, I find this works better in sapphic books, but like two best friends and everyone around them can like see they're in love, but they don't know they're in love, and then one of them slowly realises it and they've got to make the other person realise it, and everyone knows except them. Oh, I love it. I love it. Going steady, 100%. I don't know why that trope really does it for me, but it does. Oh, the classic trope, which luckily I feel like over the years, the amnesia trope has really fallen out of style, and you know what? I think that's for the best. This is going to go into We Need to Talk, because I think it can be romantic when it's done right, but I just think there are so many ethical and moral issues with the idea of like amnesia as a trope in a romance story, because this person is dealing with some serious medical issues, and I know you might have been in love before this big accident, but now they can't remember you, and it feels coercive to like try to be reminding them constantly that they're in love with you and why they're in love with you. Like they've had a traumatic brain injury. Just let them recover. Let them rest. Just give it a minute, okay? Okay? No. Second chance romance. This is something which I feel like, again, very rarely is actually done right. I feel like if you've given your relationship a go once and it hasn't worked out, there are some like fundamental issues that you need to work on. Unless I'm reading about intense months of therapy, intense months of like working on yourself before you're reunited with this person, I'm not there, I'm not in it with you. The only time I feel like second chance romance can really work in books for me is when they were together when they were like really young, like teenagers, like high school sweethearts, and then they've fallen apart, and then like 20, 30 years later, they've re-met, reconnected, and made it work. Like I can get on board with that. But generally, if you broke up 2 years ago and then now you're trying to get back together again, it's not for me. I just feel like if you haven't worked out, there's a reason why. Unless you've really worked on those issues specifically, it's probably not going to work again. But again, there are caveats. There are times it can work. I'm going to put it in situationship. Holiday romance, as in like for my American viewers, I mean holiday in the sense of like vacation romance. I feel like I'm a bit biased against this one because I recently read My Best Friend's Honeymoon by Meryl Wilsner, which is very much a holiday romance. And I did not like that book at all. So disappointed. I love Meryl Wilsner books. That book was not it. Holiday romance, I do think it can be romantic, but I think a lot of the time the holiday romance needs to be left on holiday rather than like brought back into your real life, into your real world, you know? Am I too much of a cynic? Situationship, again, it can work. I always like the holiday bit. I like the bit where they're away and things like spicy and the tensions are high, and then they come back to normal life and it just feels like, you know? I had to include at least one hallmark Christmas trope, and that is home for Christmas, by which I mean back home in their small town and they reconnect with the person they were in love with in high school. This, again, maybe comes under second chance romance, and they fall in love and they fall back in love with being a small town girl away from the big city. For a video last year, I read like 10 Christmas romances in the space of like a month, and I'm so jaded now forever. Like I never want to read another Hallmark Christmas romance book ever again. So I do feel like I've got hatred in my heart for this generally. And also just like as somebody who craves to live in the big city, I never quite understand like going home to a small village with like 20 people for Christmas and then being like, this is where I want to be now. I'm no longer a big city girl, I'm now a small village girl. I don't understand that because of who I am as a person. So it kind of just bothers me a bit. We Need to Talk. The One That Got Away, you know what? I'm a fan of The One That Got Away. Like somebody you might have been in love with again in high school. I keep coming back around to being in love in high school. Also, don't know why I keep saying high school because I'm British. It was secondary school for me. But yeah, then 10 years later, you reconnect. Maybe they were never interested when you're teenagers and now they see you in a bar and they think you're really hot. Maybe they don't recognise you. Oh, yeah, I love it. that can go in Going Steady. Damsel in distress. We know where I'm going to put damsel in distress, don't you? Like, as a staunch feminist, I don't like the idea of women being saved by somebody, whether that's a sapphic romance or a straight romance. The whole damsel in distress thing just doesn't really do it for me. Like, I don't need to be saved. I don't need to read about anybody being saved. You can save yourself. You're a strong, independent woman. No. Different worlds, very self-explanatory. Two people, maybe like rich and poor, or different religions coming together and making it work. I don't hate this. It's not my favourite. Situationship. I don't really have loads to say about this. Like, I'd be like, if I saw it in a book, I'd be like, okay, cool, let's see how this goes. But you know they're always going to work out in the end. It doesn't fill me with suspense, you know? Fated mates, this is when it's very clear that two people are supposed to be together. Like, all the stars have aligned, the universe makes it so clear that these two people are meant to be together, and there's been bumps along the way, but ultimately they were always meant for each other. Again, I'm too much of a cynic. It's not for me. Fated mates, like, I think relationships are raw and real and messy, and I don't like the idea of soulmates. I really don't like the idea of soulmates. I thought there's only like one person out there in the world for you and everyone else is wrong. Like, what are the chances of finding that one person? It's not for me. Not for me. Billionaire romance. Again, when I say billionaire romance, I immediately am thinking of the Twisted Love series. And if you've watched any other video on my channel, you'll know that Twisted Love is one of my least favourite books I've ever read. That was so deeply problematic, and you know what, it has ruined the billionaire thing for me forever. Also, the fiance fast I mentioned earlier, billionaire romance, I just didn't really get it. Like, you're kind of using your money to like hold power over other people, and that's not what I'm here for. I don't like it. We need to talk. This is very skewed towards like, I hate everything, which seems correct. We are down to the final three with star-crossed lovers. I feel like I am automatically inclined to love star-crossed lover stories, like any star-crossed lover story, because I love Romeo and Juliet. I like the idea of two people who like are in love and they want to be together, but like the fates never quite align and it never quite works out. I like that in story, and again, maybe it's because I'm a cynic. Maybe it's because I know that's like hard. There's like conversations to be had along the way there. It's not like easy and breezy. I like the drama, you know? And I love Romeo and Juliet. Going Steady. Fake dating. You know what? Fake dating as a trope is so wildly overdone, and I know that. But I also don't hate it. Like, I will never not pick up a book because it is the fake dating trope. So we're gonna go Going Steady. I like it. I like how they sort of like actually still get to know each other because they're still dating, and it always feels very organic a lot of the time because they're actually dating, they're actually getting to know each other, even though they're doing it under false pretenses. They're still putting in the work, you know? I like it. Okay, we're going to end on Grumpy Sunshine. Now, I know I mentioned something similar to this when talking about the opposites attract earlier, and I said I really don't love opposites attract, and I mentioned Grumpy Sunshine within that. So this might sound hypocritical, but I feel like a slight grumpy, a slight sunshine, it can really work when it's done right. Again, I'll never turn down a book because it's like Grumpy Sunshine. Also, I much prefer it in sapphic books and straight books. Much prefer it. I'm just thinking of Delilah Green with this one, to be honest. It can go and Going Steady. So there you go, there is my official ranking of all the romance book tropes I could think of. I'm sure there are so many more tropes I didn't include on this list, so if you've got any, let me know down below and I will rank it in the comments for you. Is this controversial? This is probably very controversial. I probably contradicted myself 100 times in this video, but you know what? It's all just vibes. We're doing this on vibes alone. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this silly little video, then make sure you subscribe to this channel. First thing, very important, subscribe. If you've watched this point and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? You clearly like me. We spent so much time together, you guys. Like this video, please, and leave a comment. Anything. Any comment tells YouTube, the YouTube algorithm gods, that you liked this video. So you should do that. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye. Mwah.